welcome back to yet another awesome episode of this awesome show. I know it's been a while, so refresh your memory. I am either Josh the Builder or Josh the Fixer, depending on the project. And the whole point is to hopefully give you guys some quick tips and advice and instructions even on how to do different projects. So let me explain this next big project actually that I'm going to be doing. And it's going to be a mini-series that I'm going to be making for you guys to watch. So recently, some friends of mine just moved into a new house and they asked me to make a bench for their kitchen. So like many kitchens, they have like kind of an open space where you could either put a table to eat or storage, whatever. They asked me to actually build them a bench. And as you can see here, I got a lot of wood. Plenty of wood that I'll be using to complete the project. So I'm going to be, over the next couple episodes, showing you guys some of the highlights. I mean, if I was going to film myself making everything, that would be a very long, hours-long mini-series. So I'm going to show you the highlights, maybe show you how to make joints, how to do some cuts, how to install hinges, that kind of thing, right? Because I will be making essentially what is known as a nook bench. It's basically like an L-shaped that can fit into a corner. And it's nice because it provides seating, so if they want to put a table there, but also underneath the seats will be like storage. So however they want to use it, whether they want to use it for more like cabinet space or whatever. So this first episode of the mini-series, I just wanted to go over some tools that are common for woodworking, and just kind of go over, show you guys the differences in different tools. So tools are obviously made for a purpose, they serve a function, and each one does something different. They might do a couple different jobs, but essentially they do things differently, right? So, right off the bat, here I have what is known as a chop saw. And all it does is cut wood. And you can see you make your measurement, put it here, pull down, and it essentially will chop, hence the name, a piece of wood in half, or whatever type of measurement you make. Now let me explain to you guys one thing right off the bat. There are different types of tools and they're powered differently. So this one it's got an electric motor, so it needs electricity. You can see here, all you gotta do is plug it in, and boom, once you pull the trigger and engage it, it'll turn on and work. Some tools, like this is what is known as a planer. This is hand. So if I want to plane some wood, I gotta use some old-fashioned elbow grease. And a planer itself, it has this small blade here. It'll just shave off, you can set it at different measurements, but it'll just shave off some wood. You know what I mean? If you go on top of a piece of wood, this piece of wood, you'd honestly just shave off. It'll just look like a piece of paper coming off. Okay? So, again, this is what is known as a circular saw. Right? This itself has a plate. It's really good because it's also electric, but it's battery powered. So I can take it anywhere. I don't need a plug. I can just use it wherever I want. And so if I'm out in the front yard, this would come in handy for cutting this piece of wood. You know what I mean? You can do a lot of different things with all these types of saws, and I'll explain something a little bit more later. All right, right here I have what is known as a table saw. As you can see, it looks like a table. Here's the blade, actually. This is also electric, but it needs a plug, so I'd have to plug it in. And once I do that, what you do is you just basically start it up, and you can run the piece of wood through the blade. I have like this guide, fits here to keep everything nice and tight, and you just kind of push it through. The good thing about this is this would be for large pieces of wood. So if you're working with like a large piece of plywood over here, that chop saw won't cut, it'll only cut a small section. So if you want to make a giant cut through this whole thing, or the length of this whole wood, you got to run it through a table saw. Okay? And you got to plane it down. Let me get over here. Cool thing too is you can set the blades at different heights, different angles even. You can see. And it's all very easy to use. Another saw that I love, implement of destruction. This is known as a sawzall because it saws all, right? You can get different types of blades. They will fit in here very easily. Right? Again, it's corded, so you plug it in and you can use it for anything. Now, what I was going to say about saws, different blades are used for different materials. Okay, so even this thing that saws all, I got all sorts of different blades, right? For different materials, whether you're cutting through hardwood, softwood, metal, different types of metal. You got to know what you're working with in order to best use the tool and let it function properly. So even if you're cutting through plywood, that's good for this blade, right? But if I was using something more for cabinetry, some finer work, I'd have to replace even the blade on this table saw. Make sense? And again, you want to know what you're powered by. So I'll show you this. This little handy doohickey is a staple gun. What it does is it shoots these staples into mostly wood, but it's what is known as pneumatic. So, pneumatic is a fancy way of saying air powered. So that's why I use my air compressor. You can see, now it's ready to go. So in addition to all these power tools, and like I said, even the hand tool like the planer, there are a lot of other handy things that you might need. Tape measure. You want to make sure you measure it, so you know when you're making things, you have to be able to fit in certain areas and fit certain places, whatever you need. So you want to make sure you measure correctly. Measure twice, cut once, because if you cut too short, you're out of luck. In addition to not only measuring, you can have things like this. This is known as a speed square. So, you make your measurement, whatever you want to cut. You put this on, and you can use this either to actually make your mark, or you can even use it as a guide for like if you're using this hand circular saw. Okay? In addition to knowing what type of material you're using, whether it's a hardwood, softwood, metal, whatever, you want to be able to use the right stuff. So, you can look at screws, and this one itself says for soft woods and plywoods. This is my staple. It says for narrow crown finishes and stuff like that. So for finer, smaller things. You can never go wrong with some good wood glue, okay? Glue. Glue holds everything good. So you glue it, and then either you screw it together or you staple it. And then, once you know is right, your project will be fine. So that's kind of just what I want to go over. Some of the simple tools that I'll be using. So when we move forward, hopefully when I say, hey, I'm going to be using this chop saw, you guys know already that's this big guy. Or if I say I'm using a table saw, you kind of know what I'm going to be going through, okay? And otherwise, I'll see you next week when I start my bench. All right, see you later.